Hi, my name is Richard McLean and this is Richard Waters of Land and Water. We're here today to explain some of the additional features and safety measures that we have on our machines and to go through the maintenance procedures with you. Whenever a machine arrives on site from us, it comes with an excavator inspection book, an operator's manual from the original equipment manufacturer, and also a booklet provided by us which explains some of the procedures and maintenance standards that we expect people to do as a minimum on a daily basis.
Hello, we're going to start today with our pre-engine start checks. This will be the engine oil and the water. As well as our normal site PPE, we need to make sure we're wearing gloves to protect against the oils. And when we alight the machine, always ensure that you use the standard steps and handrails to climb up. When we have got up on top of the machine, it's always preferable to kneel down to keep stable on top, especially in windy weather. Now, to check the oil, we open the bonnet, make sure the safety bar is engaged so that it can't come back down. Withdraw the dipstick and clean it, and then reinsert before taking the reading of the oil. The reason for this is that the oil can travel back up the tube once you have released the air from the top by taking the dipstick out on the first occasion. When we've got the dipstick out, there are two marks on the dipstick and the oil level must be in between them. You'll see that in this case it is right to the top mark, which is just where we'd like it to be. If the engine does require oil and you do not have oil provided with the machine, you would need to get in touch with the maintenance department so they can supply the oil that is specific to this type of engine. And to fill the oil, you have to release the oil filler cap on top of the engine, making sure that it is clean around the cap so that we get no ingress of dirt. Fill through this opening to the required level. While we have got the bonnet up, we just want to make a few further checks, looking for any oil leaks that are, or diesel leaks that are around the engine, and also just to look at the fan bouts, check for any cracking or fraying, and if possible, just check the tension. While we're on the back of the machine having checked the engine oil, we also want to check the oil level in the slew gearbox. This is done by the dipstick here on the side of the gearbox. Again, we need to remove it, wipe it and replace to get an accurate reading. The two lines on the bottom of the dipstick indicate the level, and as with this one, the oil level needs to be between those two marks. The larger machines will have two slew gearboxes to be checked, which are adjacent to each other, and the smaller machines from the ZX70 and below do not have a dipstick on the slew gearbox to check. Now we check the water level on the excavator. To do this, we first need to locate the expansion tank for the radiator. On this machine, it is in the panel behind the cab, but on some machines it will be in the engine bay. Now, the expansion tank has two levels on it. One is the lower level and there is the higher level. It's quite often necessary to give the bottle a shake to find the true level, which on this one is exactly on the full level. If the level is low and the machine requires more water, it should be topped up with a water antifreeze mixture. If the water level has gone completely out of the tank, then we need to examine the water system to see if we can find any leaks. And to fill it, we need to firstly fill the radiator and then come back and top the expansion tank up. To check the hydraulic oil on the machine, we must first park the machine with the arm in the correct position to ensure that the hydraulic oil is back in the tank. To do this with a Hitachi machine, the general rule is that the arm is stretched fully out with the bucket curled under. On a JCB machine, the opposite is true, and the machine would be in the transport position. But please check the operator's handbook for the particular machine you're on to see that this is correct. With the arm in position, there is a sight glass on the side of the tank which has 2 red marks, and the oil level needs to be between these 2 sight marks. On other machines, the sight glass will be found in a different position, and you need to check your operator's handbook to find exactly where that is. While we have got this panel open, it also pays to check the water trap on the fuel system, and if any contamination is found in the bottom of the water trap, this can be drained using this butterfly nut on the bottom, having first placed a receptacle underneath the drain tube to catch any contaminated fuel and water that comes out. Having completed our fluid checks on the machine, we will now carry out a visual inspection of the condition of the rig. Now, the points we'll be looking for are cracks, condition of the pipework, hoses and pipe clamps, and also the hydraulic rams. Now, the particular areas to concentrate on when we're looking for cracks are firstly around the bucket linkage area, where it's possible to get cracking around any seams, on the sides of any welds or additional plates that are welded on. So we need a careful look as we work up the boom on all these points, all the edges and the underneath, to make sure that there are no points. While we're down here, we can just check that the ram rod is dry and that there are no signs of any oil leakage from the rod. As we go up, we will check pipe clamps and make sure that they are all tight. The hydraulic hoses are showing no signs of deterioration or leaking. And we'll continue walking up and checking the whole boom for any cracks. When we get up to the dipper pivot area, we come to a very common place to find cracking, in particular around these bosses on the dipper pivot, the side plates and the end plates. So we need to have a very good look around on both sides of the dipper to check that there are no faults there. We need to ensure that we check both sides of the dippers and also both sides of the boom. And as we go along looking at the boom, the bottom and top plates need to be checked for any cracks. And although we're not able to in this particular position, but as often as possible we need to get the boom lowered either into an excavation or over a bund, or if there are other access equipment on site that can be used, to check the area around the dipper ram anchor, which is a common place for problems to occur. As we're coming down the boom, we also need to check that the transport bar is undamaged and also has its locking pins in to save it coming loose, because that is an important part of the equipment for when the machine is being transported, as when it locks down to the bottom carrier, it takes out any bounce and saves damage to the hydraulic rams when the machine is being transported. And if we carry on down the boom, another important place to check is around the lift ram anchors and the section between the lift rams and the boom base, which again is a common place for damage to occur. Having completed the checks on the rig, as we walk back round the machine, we'll just check underneath that there are no obvious signs of any leakage of fluids. We'll check that the mirrors are in good condition and are adjusted correctly. And if it's a machine fitted with a reversing camera, we can check the operation of the reversing camera by turning the ignition on and pressing the test button in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. We can also check that the beacon is working, and then the final thing on the daily checklist is to start the engine and check the operation of the hydraulic isolator. Now, with the engine running, we should have no movement of any function with the isolator in the up position. These are points that should be watched on the bucket linkage of the machine. We need to keep an eye that the dog bones are straight and that all locking pins are in place. The ram guard needs to be in good condition. It's free running and the locking bolt is in the end of it. The lifting eye needs particular attention, particularly if we're going to start lifting operations, when it should be inspected before the start of any lifting. A point to remember when attaching auxiliary hydraulic circuits is that when the quick release couplings are engaged and the collar drops down off of that locating nipple, it is necessary to turn the collar to stop it from sliding back up and releasing the lower section of the quick release coupling.